So this is a little different than usual. I am recording from home because I meant to do this Friday and didn't make it into the office, and now it's Saturday. But I told students I would be doing it. So here you go. This is going to be on APA format. I don't usually teach this just straight out in class. It's usually as part of something else that I call the rhetoric of citation styles. But since I had so many people ask about it, I'll go ahead and do a video. Most of the reason I don't do a video is because it's a lot of stuff that is kind of memorizable fact, but the why we do these things, those are what become more important. What are the values behind these? So that's what I end up teaching in class more than here's how to do APA or here's how to do MLA or IEEE or ACS or whatever or Chicago, whatever citation style you have. So to get us started, I want to point you to a couple resources. One, in my classes I usually use the Norton Field Guide or am currently using that, have been for a year or two or three now. But section 53, if I remember correctly, should be all APA style, and then I think section 52 is MLA, something like that. Beyond that, you can get to if you're at Chandler Gilbert, you can, or if you're not a Chandler Gilbert student, you can usually find that the institution you have, that their library or their writing center has some sort of resource that can get you what you need as far as some basic. Most writing centers have online handout systems or PDFs or some sort of online resource when it comes to writing. So I'm going to go to our writing center first. That is the first step. So CGC Writing Center. When we go here, so that's pretty easy to Google, just straight up get to the Writing Center. As we look, we can see that we can go under resources and see different topics of resources, and each of these has a whole bunch of other links in them. So as we scroll down, we can actually pull up an APA formatting sample. We want a special handout on in-text citations, reference format, citing social media. And often the writing centers will have, not only is it cool to go to writing centers and talk with a writing specialist, but they will often have these handouts already printed and ready. If you just walk through your local writing center, they usually have these things like up on the wall, and you can just grab the handout if you're more of a tactile, like I want to have it in my hands kind of person. They usually have them already printed out. So with that, we can see this is a meaningful resource, and I'll go through this and how they have it set up. Before I do that, let's also look at another really common source. Al Purdue is probably the most encouraged source to use that's an open access source. I don't know anyone who says anything bad about Al Purdue, except maybe a few years ago before they did their new website remodel, and it was kind of some older looking style. But it's got tons of information. They try and make sure it's updated on the format systems as they get updated. So at MLA's update, they got it squared away, I think, within a couple months of that being published and out, which is pretty good, all things considered. APA might be going through an update soon, so even the stuff I tell you now, just make sure that you're supposed to be using 6th edition if 7th isn't out already when you watch this video, depending on when you end up showing up. But you can get to the APA formatting and style guides fairly quickly on Al Purdue, and they've got all the other ins and outs there as well. If you are someone who's in like graduate school or something, it might just make sense for you to try and get a copy of the MLA or APA or whatever citation style you plan on using. They do have a citation generator, kind of like an easy bid type thing. I always hesitate to use something like this because it's only as good as what you know about the system. So if you're not sure how to put together an APA citation style yourself, it's going to be hard for you to check the computer and make sure that it's grabbed the right information and put it in the right place. So even if you use a citation generator like that, you need to be going back and confirming that you've done it according to convention. And in my class we talk about, this is not really the main thing about writing, but there's a lot to citation styles and social conventions that you have to make strategic choices as a writer about. So check out, if I don't have them up yet, when I have them up on the sociocultural aspect of writing and its connection to citation styles, as well as, when else would I talk about it? The scientific aspect of writing. Both of those aspects link to citation styles in a very unique way. And so the why of it is really kind of cool. I'm not going to do that now because this is APA. I'm trying to do a video on APA. I need to remind myself of this. Here we go. All right, so with that, you can see that Al Purdue is a meaningful resource, has samples and all that fun stuff. So let's go. One thing I will say, you won't see it on the Writing Center handout that I'm about to show you because they know that our students aren't at a stage where they're really going to need this. But almost every online template of APA style has this thing called an abstract on it. And so as you are looking at it, you don't need an abstract. It's not required for APA format, but it is very common. It is because most people writing APA papers are writing longer papers and are publishing in that citation style for the most part. So if you're writing a 10, 15, 20 page paper, you should have an abstract because it condenses your main arguments. Just know that it rarely, if ever, actually counts toward a word count if you're writing it as an essay for a class. So keep that in mind. Don't get tripped up. An abstract is a fancy summary of key findings. It's just the whole paper basically condensed into usually less than 300 words, less than a full page. And yes. So abstract optional, but recommended if writing longer papers. But most templates have it built in because most people writing an APA are doing that sort of work. That's all I'm going to say using the Al Purdue. So let's just go basic formatting. Basic. Here's the bare minimum as you're getting started, since that's where at the beginning of my semester I'm just trying to get students used to seeing citation styles different than MLA. And so APA format, some things to note. One, you can ignore the Chandler-Gilbert letterhead. That's just part of their handout. That's not part of APA style. But one thing to note is in the header, first, there's a title page. APA uses a title page. Then the header is different than MLA. It does have the page number. It's the same type of page number where it is right justified, but it does have this running head, colon, and then a 50 character or less shortened form of your title. So if your title's really fancy, you create a truncated running head, which is meaning like a shorter head that gets a header or shorter name that gets carried on to each page after that. You do need to make sure that that is only on the first page. If you look at the second page, the running head is gone. There's a way to do that in both Google Docs and Word Doc. There's a little different first page check mark. You want to click that first and then start building the rest of the formatting. Now, the cool thing about the way Chandler-Gilbert does it is they have it as a bullet point list. Don't get that confused and think that all your paragraphs in APA need to be bullet pointed. This is a list of steps to follow for you as a writer as you try and accomplish APA format. Really easy, really easily laid out, just step by step by step by step. One other point that sometimes isn't on templates, before I get there, title, name, institution. That's it. Don't carry over MLA format and add the class. The thing that is often not on all templates is this author note. It's if you want to say what class you wrote it for or what it was prepared for. So the author note would be where you would say this essay was prepared for Professor Fields English 101 or whatever class it is. Or in completion of dissertation or doctorate or master's or whatever it is whatever the project is you're working on, that's where you put that. And an author note at the bottom of the title page is kind of you adding any extra information. But that information does not need to be in the standard kind of centered title block here. So be aware of that. Those are the basics. This is what an APA formatted title page should look like. Running head, capitalized just at the beginning, colon, a shortened title, a page that counts up. Make sure you do that. 1, 2, 3, right? You should see the numbers count up on your pages. If not, you'll have to dig in deeper to the formatting. This is developing the technological skill with whatever word processor you're using, whether it's Word or Google Docs. It's just something you have to learn. It's part of the, it's just like learning how to write with a pencil. That's what you're doing. You're dealing with that new technology. So have fun. So your title, go look at my video on how to make cool titles. Don't just put Project 2 or whatever it is, because that's boring and silly. Sometimes the title Writing Sucks is better than Project 1. At least there's, well, now it won't be original. But then your name, then the institution, the author note. Just like MLA, you can sit in the Times New Roman 12-point font, double spaced, no spaces before or after paragraphs. Indent each paragraph. Don't go space, 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 and use the tab button. Make it easy on yourself. A key difference with APA is also citation, in-text citations, and the references page. In-text citations are last name and date of publication. If you're using a direct quote or you have a page number, you can also include that as well. And there are other resources online to tell you how to do that. So, but that would be, it'd be if you were citing, say, my book chapter from 2018, you would say Fields and Matsuda, comma, 2018, comma, page, I think it's like 472. Or P.472, and then close your parentheses. That would be an in-text citation. You also want to remember that there is a references page. It's different than MLA. It's called something different. It's called references instead of works cited. And so in the references page, you can go find, depending on the source, how to do that. But the basic structure is author by last name, date of publication, title of publication, publisher, or website, and then it just keeps going. And so you can go look up all the nitty-gritty details on that. This is just the quick version. But for students who are in their first writing class or first year writing class, and it's their first try at APA, that's some of the main meat you're going to need. So I'm going to stop there. I'm not a big fan of like owning citation styles, which could just be a personal thing, but every time I go to publish, doing that final polishing is something I do at the end, and I do have to go back each time to make sure I'm adhering to the appropriate citation style for the specific publication or class or whatever it was. I remember spending 10, 11 hours just on a references page for the book chapter in 2018, and about that pattern's held true for other articles I've written and book chapters I've written since then, or in the process of graduate school and all that. It's a separate genre to do a references page. You have to go back to the norms, check them out, take it piece by piece, take it article by article, just kind of work systematically through. It's monotonous, but some writing is, and it is still meaningful. There's a reason that we cite people. It's like e-currency or Bitcoin for scholars when we cite their work, because they usually don't get paid much, if anything, for their work. So it's it's connected to that, honoring people's efforts. Anyways, that's all I'm going to say about APA. I've given you, I think, 2 to 3 resources for sure, and then walked you through some of the basics, and hopefully I've held this screen up long enough where if you really needed to, you could pause the video and read down the checklist. One other thing that does become important with APA format is heading styles, headings and subheadings. And so you have a variety of levels you can use depending on how big of an article you're writing. I encourage people to use those. It's a structural component that helps us, helps our brain know to download information. So use the headers, use the subheaders, keep track of what level you're at and how these things get nested. If you're not sure what that means, feel free to put a comment in the bottom and I'll go and do a little more explanation on that. I'm trying to make sure there's nothing else I would want students to know at this point, or anyone else trying to figure this out. Everything else is similar. It's 1-inch margins, just like MLA, which most people are more familiar with because we won't talk about that right now, because just writing instructors, we like our own ways. With that, we'll call that good. Have a good weekend if you're watching this on the first round. If you're watching it months from now and something's changed or a question comes up, or you're not even in one of my classes, but something I said you still have questions about, you can always comment at the bottom. But I'm going to call that good.